Hi, this is Blaine, and welcome back to another episode of Energy Works. I'm doing a solo episode today, and the topic, I'm thinking about how to start this, which is why I paused there. The topic is about growth, personal growth, but also purpose, and what both of those are and how they're different. But how I came to wanting to talk about this today is because recently I wrote a newsletter about an experience I had as a runner. And if you're not on our newsletter list, please join. Lauren and we take turns writing the newsletter. Sometimes we write them together, but usually Lauren writes it or I write it. And we send one every Tuesday. It's totally free. And we give energy tips and talk about what's going on in our life. It's much shorter than this longer form podcast. And anything that we have for sale, we share that there, and stories and all kinds of stuff. We really try to make it entertaining and educational. You can call it edutainment, maybe. And so anyway, I wrote one recently. I wrote the newsletter myself, and it was about an experience I had running. And it took me a while to decide to write the newsletter. I really struggled with the topic as something that I should write about in an energy medicine yoga newsletter, because I didn't know if it was relevant for the readers of our newsletter. The type of people, just to kind of put everyone in the same bucket, which of course you can never do. But there's a general type of person who is a woman, a general type of woman who is drawn to energy medicine yoga. Of course, they are all not women. We have plenty of men who are in our community, but there are more women than men. And the women tend to be a little bit more seasoned in life. We also have young women, especially among our energy medicine yoga teachers. There are many, I'll say, younger yoga teachers. By younger, I'll say under 45, who are yoga teachers and are really drawn to becoming energy medicine yoga teachers. But the general practitioner of energy medicine yoga, the general woman who is drawn to learning more about this work, tends to be over 50, sometimes retired, sometimes not, absolutely interested in holistic medicine and taking care of themselves holistically, but also open to Western medicine when necessary. And there's just a type of woman that we know who's drawn to this work. What that type of woman is not is a runner. And so I am a runner, and Lauren is a skier. We're both pretty athletic people, even though many people in our community are not runners or skiers. What the newsletter was about was a 10K race that I ran on July 4th this year. And I wanted to do well. I was running it to be a competitor, and I trained for it like I always do. And one of the things about training, this is yin and yang, which we've talked about so many times throughout the episodes of the podcasts, is you can't always be yang, which is like work, work, work. And you can't always be yin, which is more rest, rest, rest. You need to work and then rest. The fields produce and then they are fallow. We are like this. We, the humans, all living things, we go through seasons. And so when you're training for something like a running race, you have a period of training where you're exercising very hard. You're doing speed work, you're doing tempo work, you're pushing yourself and your ability to be able to run fast for a long time. However, you reach the point that you need to rest. And so as someone who races, you time your rest to be right before the race. And so when you hit the start line, you've done your training, you have rested, and now you're ready to go. It's like you have filled your cup, you are 100%, you're not fatigued, You do not want to hit the starting line fatigued. You want to hit the starting line rested. Well, I've had a string of really good races over the past couple of years. And so maybe you could say I got a little cocky. I have really considered what I did here, and I have decided what I did was become complacent. And so what happened was I didn't do enough rest. I knew I needed to rest. I actually did some extra hard, sweaty workouts. It's the hot summer. I didn't hydrate enough. I didn't rest enough. I went to the start line. I thought, oh, I'll get away with this. And I didn't get away with it. I felt terrible the whole race. And after the race was over, and I didn't hit my goal. After the race was over, I stepped back to really look at why I did that. And that's what I wrote about in this newsletter, my journey of self-discovery to understand why I would sabotage myself in that way. And what I determined was that I became complacent. And I talk a little bit in the newsletter about what that means. Okay, so that's what the newsletter was about. I wasn't sure if I should send it because I thought many people who read this newsletter are not runners. They are not doing 4th of July races. They are not trying to win their age groups. It's not what there are plenty of women who are like that. They're just not the typical energy medicine yoga woman. And so I struggled. Should I send this? Should I send this? Should I send this? And in the end, I decided yes to send it. And by the time you are watching this on YouTube or listening to the audio version of this podcast, that has gone out. So that was my personal struggle. What I want to share with you here is the why. And the reason why I decided to send it is because it's personal growth for me to run. It's personal growth for me to do all of the things I need to do to transcend the voices in my head, to not convince myself that my best days have been behind me, that I'm still quite capable, and get all of the lessons that are still out there for me from running so that I can continue to grow as a person, grow. And growth is what this podcast is about, which is different from purpose. We know from the research of the blue zones that life purpose, and I'm sure there's other research too besides the blue zones, by the way, but at least from the blue zones, I'm sure many other places, it is shown and demonstrated that life purpose is important for longevity. A reason to get out of bed in the morning, a purpose for your life. The more that people have a life purpose, the greater their lifespan and the greater their health span. So we know purpose. My purpose is not to be a runner. My purpose here, I'm here in Earth School, like all of us. I want to have purpose and I want to have growth. My purpose is totally different than the growth I get from running. So what I wanted to share with the newsletter audience was my pursuit of growth, because I believe, I work with women in our community all the time in our membership, as one-on-one clients, in different courses and programs that I run. And I do believe that many of the women who are drawn to energy medicine yoga have very strong life purpose. And a lot of it has to do with taking care of their families, taking care of their grandkids, being the matriarch for their entire close and extended family. That is life purpose. And I know people have other life purposes. That's just one that I see time and time again. But what I also see is that growth sometimes gets shoved to the side in the spirit of pursuing purpose. But what we need is purpose and growth. So to define them, I got a definition written down so that I could be clear on this. Purpose is about meaning, direction, and why, often centered on caring for family, supporting others, or contributing to the community. Growth is about personal development, learning, and how, focused on evolving, discovering new interests, and nurturing oneself. Purpose often answers, why do I get up in the morning? Growth answers, how am I becoming more of the person I want to be? Purpose is frequently others-focused. Growth is typically self-focused. Purpose may remain steady over time. Growth is continuing throughout life, regardless of age or stage. So if you were like, what is the difference between purpose and growth? That is it. I used to own a yoga studio in Boulder, Colorado, and I would see mothers of school-age children, younger children, not grandmothers yet, who couldn't afford their yoga membership or to buy a yoga class pass because they spent every dime they had on their kids, on ballet classes, on summer camps, on school trips, on sports. They had no money left over for themselves to take yoga because every dime they had went to that. I am not here to criticize that in any way, shape, or form. I mention it because they weren't getting their personal growth potentially because all of their time, money, and attention was on their purpose. And what happens is that we put ourselves on the back burner. We put our personal growth on the back burner for the purpose of supporting our families. And then the kids grow up, graduate college, get married, off on their own. But women have become so comfortable being on the back burner that it is uncomfortable to put themselves on the front burner. They do not know how to do it. And so the idea of investing time, money, or attention on their personal growth feels selfish, it feels uncomfortable, and it feels like something they shouldn't do because they spent so many years on the back burner focused on their purpose. But it's never too late. And there are so many reasons why we should focus on our personal growth. Why are you here in Earth School? What are you here to learn? What will make you feel like you are growing as a human and as a woman and as a matriarch or as a man and a patriarch if you spend some time on your own self-growth? Purpose provides a sense of meaning and is linked to lower mortality and reduced risk of disease. We know that. The studies show that. Purpose provides a sense of meaning and is linked to lower mortality and reduced risk of disease. Growth supports greater well-being, resilience, and cognitive health, which are important for longevity and independence. I'll say that one more time. Growth supports greater well-being, resilience, and cognitive health, which are important for longevity and independence. Both are essential for a vibrant, fulfilling, and healthy life. And I have a few more research insights here for you. Active pursuit of personal growth, such as learning new skills or embracing change, boosts psychological well-being and life satisfaction. Growth helps with adaptation to life's transitions, supporting mental and emotional health. Lifelong learning is associated with better cognitive function and mental health in older adulthood. Growth contributes to a eudaimonic well-being, the sense of actualizing one's potential, which is linked to healthy aging and longer life. So yes, while purpose absolutely is linked to healthy aging and longer life, so is growth. Investing time, money, and attention into your personal growth. What do you want to learn? What fills your cup? What makes you vibrate with happiness? And the question you might have now, if you started to think about this, and maybe you think, okay, maybe I haven't been focused on my own growth enough, is how do I know what I want to do? And I run into this myself. Focusing on my own growth is not an issue for me, but sometimes it's what do I want to focus on? Because we all have a limited amount of time, money, and attention. So I have too many things I would like to do to focus on my growth. So I want to share with you what I do and what maybe you can do as a personal tool for knowing what the right thing is. Because what I've done sometimes is I get all excited about a new thing that I want to learn or experience. And then I sign up for it really fast. I do my research, I put down my money. And then a few weeks later, all of that excitement has fizzled. And I think, what am I doing? I'm not even sure I want to do this, which is not helpful for anyone. So what I do now is I put myself on, I'll say a 1 to 3 day rule. Minimum 24 hours, but I try to do 3 days. And when I'm thinking about what do I want to do, usually I have something in mind. But if you don't even know what to do, you can do the same thing and see what happens. I sit quietly and I let ideas run through my mind, and then I feel the sensations in my body. Is the sensation in my body tingly excitement? Is it a yes? If you're someone who energy tests, you can absolutely energy test different ideas if they're a good growth thing for you to invest in. This is a sense of an energy test, is feeling the sensations in my body. And sometimes I will get pulled forward a little bit, which is in a pendulum test. Sometimes we kind of get pushed backwards a little bit if we're a no, pulled forwards a little bit if we're a yes. My pull forward in my pendulum test is very noticeable to me. So sometimes I get pulled forward, but I'm also looking for, do I feel heavy in my belly, like a little bit tense, like maybe this isn't something I want to do? Or do I feel light and tingly and excited? Do I feel apprehensive? Just what are the sensations in my body? And if you're thinking about something specific, it can be the same thing. Do I want to join the book club? If there's a book club and maybe you want to do a little bit more reading, but it's a commitment to read all those books and go to the meeting and all that sort of thing. And are the people who are in the book club people you want to spend your time with? And so just sit in silence and consider it, visualize it, and see what sensations come up in your body. And then wait 24 hours and do it again. And then wait 24 hours and do it again. And if it's sticking with you, this sense of excitement, then it's probably a yes, something you should consider or just go ahead and sign up for. If it fades over 2 to 3 days, that's probably a sign that you had some initial juice around it, but then it went away. So that's maybe not the right thing to you. And so instead of getting excited about something, signing up, and then like wondering if maybe you jumped the gun too early, spend some time, sit back and explore, do a mental scan and explore what your body is telling you about your energetic response to a commitment to your personal growth. And maybe if the idea of personal growth, if you're a back burner person, maybe you just need to sit with the idea of, am I ready for personal growth? Do I feel good about personal growth? And keep exploring that until you get to the point that you say, yes, I'm ready. And then you can start to explore the different ways that you can do it. So that's what I have for today. I would love to know your thoughts and your comments. You can either put them in the platform that is on YouTube, or you can send them to us. If you go to energymedicineyoga.net and scroll to the bottom, you can sign up for our newsletter, and then you can always reply to any of our newsletters and talk to us. You can also put anything in the audio podcast format. I'm so happy to chat with you today, and I'll see you next time on Energy Works.